This episode of the Digital Desperados podcast is brought to you by SaferNet VPN, found online at safernet.com.
Welcome to the Digital Desperados podcast featuring dark tales from the web. Patrick McMurphy's here today to tell us our dark tales, and he's joined by Brad Hawkins, founder and CEO of SaferNet. I'm Jim Brangenberg, and I'll serve as the, kind of like the ring guide, I guess. This podcast is brought to you by SaferNet, online at safernet.com. You wouldn't live in a metropolitan area without a home security system. Why would you explore the internet without internet protection? Discover SaferNet, your ultimate cybersecurity solution. Defend your workplace with ease. SaferNet offers a VPN, internet controls, virus protection for businesses to keep you out of trouble and safe all day long while you're computing all over the internet. Additionally, SaferNet offers 84 website filters. Get secured now. Sign up at safernet.com. That's safernet.com. All right, Patrick, what dark tale are you telling us about today?
So, Jim, today I want to talk about Marcus Hutchins, a.k.a. MalwareTech, a.k.a. the hacker who saved the internet. So Marcus is a legendary, and I mean legendary guy within the InfoSec scene. But he's barely known outside it. No one knows about this guy.
Nobody knows him for real, you mean?
But I mean, this is a guy I've followed for years through his progress. So early life, Marcus, he's born just outside London in 1994. Him and his family, they move on to Devon. It's a very small kind of farming community, southwest England. He's the son of Janet, a nurse, and Desmond, who's a social worker. And by age 5, and we kind of see this happen time and again, he had a very early interest in technology, computers. He was often disassembling and reassembling electronics. And that is really important. If someone does that as a child, they're either going to be in QA or a hacker. I'm sorry, but that's how it
That is true. We have studied a lot of these hackers, and a lot of them were involved with taking things apart and putting them together. So absolutely.
And you can guess what I did with most of my childhood. So, But
so are you a hacker? Is that what you're saying?
Hey, I couldn't be in QA, Brad. But by the time he's 12, he's looking at hacking websites. He gets into this online web forum. They promote malware development. But really, this is just on kind of kids showing off their skills. There's not really a lot of nefarious purposes at this point. But here he learns a lot of programming. He's kind of self-teaching. But we do see later on.
Patrick, I got to point that out also, is that, so many of these hackers start out just by trying to create a name for themselves, try to looking like they're somebody to their tiny little community or, just to themselves. And they're really not going out there trying to destroy the world. They're just trying to go out there and make it so that somebody says, gosh, did you know this person got hacked? And they can know down deep inside that they just pulled that off. And so I think that's really interesting as we try to get into the psyche and really understand some of these hackers and why they're doing what they're doing. Not saying that they always stay in that place, or not saying that everybody's the same way, but I do find that really interesting.
Yeah, it's common across a lot of hackers, absolutely. By the time he's 14, he creates, he has to make his own contribution basically to this website. And so it's a password stealer, and it's based on, if anyone remembers this, it was Internet Explorer's autofill feature. Now, Google has something a lot more secure in place, but this is mid-2000s internet, so it was pretty bad. And there were still people on Internet Explorer, which is probably worse than anything else here. But this is met by massive approval on these web forums. But I mean, the guy is spending so much time with this community that his schoolwork begins to fail. And all his school friends know him as this hacker guy. Now, someone ends up compromising the school system, and immediately everyone blamed Marcus for it. He denied all involvement. However, he was suspended from using the computers at school. And all this did at the end of the day was just drive him to skip school and just spend time in this community. Eventually, this community he had found, it shut down, and he moved on to another forum called Hack Forums. And so hack forums required members to demonstrate your skills before you even entered the website properly. And one of the ways of doing that was creating and writing your own botnet. And so Marcus created something, a botnet basically that was full of 8,000 computers that he'd infected. And what he was doing, there's something called BitTorrent.
So Patrick, can you explain when he said he created his own botnet? What does that mean?
So if you're creating a botnet, and one of the best ways to kind of let it kind of go through systems and infect systems is through phishing, although his method was a little bit different. But once you get infected with a botnet, your computer basically starts running things in the background for a command and control system. And so that might be doing DDoS attacks, or really you just have an army of electronic devices under your control and you're just pointing them at whatever target you want.
So it's remote control of my home computer. Somebody's in there using it for nefarious reasons. That's what you're saying, Patrick, right?
Absolutely, 100%. But, so it was 8,000 computers he had infected. He gets a lot of respect on hack forums on this. And so he begins a web hosting service on hack forums called ghosted web hosting. And so I have to explain ghosted web hosting a little bit, because this is still to this day used. So, if you want to start a website, it's about to, I sound like I'm about to advertise some legitimate web hosting service here, but I'm not. But, if you want to start a normal website, you go ahead and you find a good web host, you set it all up, you pay for it. But if you're a hacker, you don't want to do that. You can find people who host ghosted services. And so they're basically websites that host illegal or illicit activities. And so he started hosting a bunch of websites. He was selling domains to people, that kind of thing. So he's already had it in business pretty early, actually, here. But again, his fame is building. Around 16, he's approached by this online entity, a person known as Vinny. And so Vinny ends up being his downfall in a lot of ways. And so Vinny wanted Marcus to create something called a rootkit. And now a rootkit is it's a difficult thing to kind of wrap your head around with fully, but it's a type of malware that infects your computer at the lowest possible level. And I'm talking about the machine code level. So this is deeper than your Windows Defender scans can do. It goes as deep as it can get. And when it's here, it's nearly the best way to get rid of a rootkit on a computer is to take your laptop and throw it out the window. It's the best way, guaranteed, to get rid of any rootkit.
So it's basically in there for life of the computer.
I just want to point out that was a false statement there, Patrick, because if you throw the laptop out the window and it lands, the hard drive's likely still okay. They can take it out and do whatever they want to do with it. You got to shred it, smash it, do something with it, or you could reformat it, couldn't you?
I'd go for magnets and a drill, honestly. I think that's the best way.
I've done it all, but you could reformat it. But what you're saying is that because I'm telling people, don't throw your laptops, your desktops away, because the hard drives are super easy to hack and they're very easy to take out and put into another place.
Absolutely. But Marcus ends up agreeing to Vinny, and with the promise that he would receive half of the profits from the sale of these rootkits.
All right, so we got a guy that today is only 30 years old. We're talking about something he did half his life ago at 16, and he's already turned into a genius hacker. Not that we're celebrating this, but we are talking, Brad, about this is why people need SaferNet, because guys like Marcus are trying to put botnets and rootkits onto my computer. Can SaferNet help me?
Oh, absolutely. And what's interesting is so many of the time I'm talking to people and they say, you know what, I don't need cybersecurity. Nobody's interested in me. Nobody's after me. Nobody's trying to steal it. I don't have anything important. Well, here's two very clear examples of what it is that happens in a hacking scenario where you're getting viruses put on your device and you don't have a clue. They're using your computer to be able to do nefarious things all over the internet, and you're sitting there oblivious to what's going on. And so it's happening all the time, and it's incredibly sad. But yes, SaferNet could have stopped all this activity on anybody that was running SaferNet.
Check out SaferNet. Don't wait any longer. SaferNet.com. All right, Patrick. Marcus is getting older.
He's getting older because it's now 2012, so not even that much later. But he completes the rootkit for Vinny, and he names it Upas. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but Upas is a poisonous tree, and so he names it after this poisonous plant. So Upas is very, very, very successful. It got Marcus thousands of dollars in Bitcoin. We're talking about 2012 Bitcoin.
Oh my goodness.
I don't even want to think about it. But he drops out of school. He lives comfortably. He hides his activities somehow from his parents. I don't know how that never came up on the dinner table. You know, Marcus, why are you no longer at school and you're wearing a Rolex? You know, come on, tell me something. But as time is progressing, Vinny requests that Marcus he basically wants an upgrade for Upas called Upas 2.0 with 2 additions. Number 1 is key logging. That's also known as keystroking. And what that is that someone monitors what is input on your keyboard. So whatever you type, they would track. The second thing are web injection capabilities. This is a very, very serious thing because this would, for example, if you're making financial transactions on bank websites, you're putting in someone's account number, suddenly it could be someone else's account number. These things are venomous. And Marcus, at this point, he's been involved with the hacking community, and he knows if you're going to get caught for cybercrime, do not let it be a web injection because it's bad news. I mean, for the criminal to spend that long in prison. But so Marcus, initially he actually refuses, but Vinny ends up blackmailing him. He says that he's going to expose him to the FBI. And you think, oh, well, you know, how does Vinny know all his details? Well, the other part about Marcus, because he had so much money, he actually began buying drugs from Vinny, who shipped them to his house. So we get some very clever people here who make some very silly mistakes. So again, a lot of pressure. Marcus agrees he's going to add the key logging features, but he wants to leave out the web inject. And for now, Vinny agrees. So the development of this version took 9 months. Again, very successful. But Vinny says, okay, I'm hiring another programmer and I want you to complete the web inject with him so you can collaborate. So you wouldn't feel as bad, I suppose. So Marcus still, you know, he's conflicted ethically and legally, more importantly. He chooses to continue, but he's trying to delay it as much as possible. Regardless, the two programmers / hackers, they collaborate, and by June 2014, it's complete. So Vinny renames it from Upas 2.0 to Kronos. This is a reference to mythological Greek titan Kronos, who I think was the god of time. And so they began selling it on the dark web. Again, massively successful. Marcus at this point, he's just mentally struggling, I think, of what he really wants in life. He goes into community college. He's trying to balance his final year studies, but he also has Vinny breathing down his neck saying, we need updates or I'm telling the FBI. So it's a disaster. He also develops a crippling drug addiction. So this guy is just having a bad time. And I don't know, I mean, he's what, like 17 at this point? It's going terribly. It actually gets worse though. So Marcus also online met an individual called Randy, and he met Randy on a hacking forum. Randy's based in LA, and he wanted someone to develop a similar banking rootkit, not as destructive as Kronos, but similar to Kronos. And so Marcus says, sure, I'll do it for you because it seems like a simple enough program. Randy pays him through Bitcoin. At the moment of transaction, there's a power outage on Marcus's side, and he actually ends up losing $5,000 of Randy's Bitcoin. So Marcus feels terrible. And to kind of compensate, he's like, you know what? I'm going to give you a free copy of Kronos. By the way, I'm actually the one who developed it in the first place. He immediately regretted these words because he just realized he told a complete stranger that he's the guy behind Kronos, and this could come back later to bite him. And well, yeah, as you can guess, it probably does. So at this point, 2015, Marcus ends up graduating from community college. He actually kicks his drug addiction completely cold turkey. So, hats off to the guy. He just basically blanks Vinny at this point. He just ignores him. Vinny just stops contacting him and the payments to him just cease. So Marcus at this point, he's clean, he's sober, he's finished college, but he's still interested, but he wants to do it as lawfully as he can. So he starts something called MalwareTech Blog, and this is where his name MalwareTech comes from. And this is a blog where he takes pieces of malware, dissects them, and basically displays what's inside, how it was, put together, and how you take it apart. And so this is a throwback to his childhood with those electronic devices, take something apart, put it back together. That's where it all came from. But MalwareTech Blog becomes incredibly famous in the white hat hacking community scene. Eventually, it catch the attention of one guy, this guy, Salim Nino. And Nino is the CEO of Cryptos Logic. And so Cryptos are a very well-regarded white hat hacking group. And so he offers Marcus a job, but the agreement is that Nino can't reveal his identity because Marcus wants to be as far away from Kronos as possible. So the legend of MalwareTech grows. He's regarded as this reversing savant, that this guy can find any malware, take it to pieces and put it back together. And this guy is just this living legend, even though, he's basically a teenager. Now, if you guys remember a few episodes ago, we talked about the 2016 Mirai botnet. He was actually one of the guys who contacted the kids who made that botnet to try to convince them to work with the law enforcement authorities. So you can already see Marcus is definitely drifting towards, the good side of the law. But here's how he became who he is. And I remember this so clearly because back home it was all over the news. I'm sure you guys heard about it in the States as well. It was May 12th, 2017, and it's called the WannaCry ransomware attack. And what it was doing, it was exploiting a flaw in Microsoft Windows. And within a day of infection, it spread to about 250,000 computers across 150 countries. It completely locked down a computer. So your computer is entirely locked down. You get a message saying you need to send Bitcoin to this address to get your computer to start working. And
now, was that anything like ransomware? Was that the start of that?
Yeah, it's a very sophisticated ransomware. Very, very sophisticated.
That's not the start of it. The ransomware, shoot, I had a ransomware attack back in 2010, so that's been around a lot longer than that.
Hmm.
Yeah, and we could dedicate an whole episode into how WannaCry was invented, but it's basically exploiting a vulnerability in Windows that became known as Eternal Blue. And so all Eternal Blue was a flaw.
In reference to the blue screen of death that Windows has become so famous for.
Yes.
Yeah, the blue screen of death came out in 1995 with the first version of Windows and has been present with us ever since because Windows never gets rid of any software. They just add on and on and on. Sorry.
Exactly. And I mean, the thing is with what Eternal Blue is doing, so there's a Microsoft protocol, and all this does is that allows file sharing and communication between computers on a network. But because of that means infection can spread rapidly. Now, the vulnerability, Eternal Blue, was discovered and developed by a state-sponsoring hacking group called the Equation Group. However, that group were hacked a year previous to this by another hacking group called the Shadow Brokers, right? And they had taken the tools of the Equation Group and started selling them online. And that one event actually ended up being responsible for a lot of hacks even today. It was a wave of hacks after this. And this is where it gets really quite dark with WannaCry, because the worst place that WannaCry hit was the National Health Service in England. And hospitals were taken completely offline. And we're talking about people who needed urgent surgery and couldn't. So we were here at a point where people's lives were in danger because of a computer virus. So it's not just money anymore. There's people potentially dying because of this. So Marcus, the day it happened, is on vacation. I I think there's something that he's like going around his hotel room. He sees this on Twitter. He goes back to his bedroom, opens his laptop, and starts trying to break open WannaCry to see what would happen. And so he's looking through WannaCry, and he finds a domain name, as in a web address, and he suspects that this domain is actually a part of the command and control structure. So something about that domain is controlling everything with WannaCry. And so he looks up the domain and he finds out it has never been registered ever. And so what Marcus did was that he just registered the domain because he wanted to act as a honeypot. So that way they could track other infected computers and where all this was starting. However, because give another quick understanding of what a honeypot is. A honeypot.
Well, let's just use Winnie the Pooh as an example. When there's a pot of honey, it attracts bees, and everybody gets sucked into it.
That is exactly it. I mean,
did you ever watch Winnie the Pooh, Brad?
Oh, I love Winnie the Pooh.
It's Winnie the Pooh of the internet.
A very famous book out, Cooking with Pooh.
Oh, Patrick, help us out, buddy. Come on, take it back.
You're lucky it's past the watershed in my time zone anyway. Now, the thing is that when he registered the domain, it actually enabled the kill switch for WannaCry. And what that meant was that WannaCry could not infect any more devices. So this was miraculous because this thing was spreading like fire, and then suddenly it could not spread. And the command and control structure couldn't send commands to say keep spreading. It just stopped. All information stopped. Immediately, Cryptos, as in the guys that Marcus worked for, they started getting hammered with DDoS attacks by hacking groups, being like, we got to take these guys down. We got to get the kill switch deactivated. Meanwhile, Microsoft, other security workers, they're coming in. They're trying to fix the exploits. There's a French cybersecurity group of researchers. They basically found a method to unlock and decrypt the affected computers without any payment. But immediately everyone knows it's this famous reverse savant called MalwareTech is the guy who stopped this. He immediately is widely praised. And the whole time he was like, I hope they don't find I hope they don't find out who I am. However, if you've ever seen tabloids in the UK, they are vicious, and within about a day, his name is on the front of like the Daily Star or some rag like that. So yeah, I mean, he'd been attempting to avoid media attention, but he just tried to do something good, but bang, immediately it was on him.
Yeah, what's incredible is the cyber criminals like Marcus Hutchins are trying to get into your computer all the time. You got to protect your computer effortlessly with SaferNet. Cybersecurity made simple for businesses. VPN, internet controls, web filters, virus protection, easy for me to say. Just keep your focused online experience and not worry about all the people trying to do naughty things. Your safety and the safety of your business are critical. Get signed up now. It's reasonably priced and it's powerful. SaferNet.com. Patrick, finish up this incredible story.
So Marcus gives one single interview to the Associated Press using his real name. He's downplaying the hero label. He does not want to be known as a hero. And he's basically just saying he got the job at Cryptos because of his work on MalwareTech, which is true. But he obviously did not want to say, by the way, I was a massive black hat hacker as well. So, But he gets celebrity status. I remember it so well. He was a celebrity in the cybersecurity company or community for his role in stopping WannaCry. And so there's plans made for him to attend a conference in 2017 called DEF CON in Las Vegas. Now, DEF CON, okay, if I can give you one piece of advice besides getting SaferNet, is that do not attend the DEF CON conference in Las Vegas within 10 miles of it. Because, okay, so this is a massive convention, and there's two types of people who go here. White hat hackers on the law and black hat hackers who are not on the side of the law. So there's several rules that people follow. There are things like bring fake IDs, do not use any ATMs within about a 5 to 10 mile radius because they are all rigged. Use burner phones, burner cards. Do not bring your work laptops, personal laptops, buy a device before it. Never use personal anything. So it's a fascinating conference, but if you really want to get hacked, go here because you absolutely will get hacked at it.
Wow.
But if you're ever into cybersecurity news, it's always worth watching because it's where the best things are shown. So
that is great.
So Marcus, arrives at DEF CON. Crowd are going insane. Both sides, they think this guy is fantastic. He's going on the plane to return to England, and bang, FBI, you're arrested, Marcus. And so what happens, the FBI discovered that Marcus was behind or connected to Kronos. And so one of the reasons they find out was because of his past conversations with that guy, Randy, who is probably some kind of honeypot himself in retrospect. So Marcus spends a night in Las Vegas jail. He contacts his boss, Nino, tells him about the situation. Nino alerts the cybersecurity community. There's widespread support. A very funny point here is that everyone wants to raise bail for him, but he's both sides, in support. So the white hats are, pledging money, but the black hats keep using stolen credit cards and Bitcoin to try to pay his bail. Does not help his case at all. But ultimately, Tara Wheeler, who's a very well-known white hat CEO, her and her husband provide bail money. They arrange for Marcus to stay in LA because at this point he can't leave the country. So, there's a lot that happens here with this court case. He is under house arrest. There's GPS monitoring. He can't use computers at all. The FBI are trying to convince Marcus to give him information on Vinny and other hackers. However, Marcus actually does not give up information, despite the fact their relation was never good. He still has a code after all this. Long story short, Marcus...
How old is Marcus at this time?
Well, in 18, he's still only 24 years old.
Yeah, he's 24.
24 now?
He's 24. Yeah. This guy's changed the world. He's 24 years old. He's got a promising future.
Long story short, with the court case, he pleads guilty to 2 of 10 charges. And these are conspiring to commit wire fraud and distributing, selling, promoting, and advertising a device used to intercept electric. I can't do court orders anymore. I would never be a good lawyer, but the guy is guilty of 2 charges anyway. That's all you need to know. Now, he is there in court and he shows remorse for his actions. He acknowledges that, yes, that was, I am responsible. The judge at the time, what happens, he looked at everything Marcus has done up to this point and he sentences Marcus to time served a 1-year supervised release. He's basically saying that before you got caught, you had already turned the corner. So Marcus, at this point, he actually has a preference to stay in LA. But he expects, you're going to get deported regardless if you get out of prison. So he did actually get deported. However, he made his way back to, I'm not sure how, but legally he made his way back to LA in the years past, and he's now living there. To this day, he's still involved with MalwareTech. He's in a lot of cybersecurity projects. He basically educates people, especially people not aware about cybersecurity threats. He's still very active on social media. You think this guy would die down? If you follow this guy on Twitter, people might post, if they're active once a day, Marcus will just go on 3 times a day about, I found this virus, I found this virus. This guy does not stop. This guy breeds viruses. It's incredible. But if you look at him, about his career, stopping WannaCry, one of the most devastating ransomware viruses at the time, his journey from black hat hacker to white hat. It's this narrative about, redemption, second chances, and the potential that absolutely anyone can change. But that is Marcus Hutchins.
That's a great story. And the kid's only 30.
I know.
And what's that little bit of Bitcoin that he got back in 2012 worth today? Come on.
Sometimes when we talk about people who received Bitcoin at that period of time, I'm often tempted to, put it into a calculator now. And I did once and then I never did again because I was like, oh man.
Yeah, $1 back then is is worth 70 grand a day. I mean, it's like, wow, nice. Well, Patrick, that's a great story. I mean, it's the most details you've ever brought to us before, but actually super phenomenal and almost some intersection with some of the other stories we covered. I appreciate you bringing us to us today. Brad, SaferNet could have saved the day here as well, and that's important. I love the fact that SaferNet can be a superhero in a lot of these situations. I mean, am I wrong?
I got to tell you, you look at something like this, and SaferNet was designed to stop this. If everybody had this on all their devices, WannaCry or these other viruses that were out there, they would have just died a quick death. And gosh, if you want to do a favor to society, put SaferNet on all your devices so that it doesn't use your device to pass on to another device. I mean, that's just a fundamental aspect of what's going on with these.
You heard it here. The internet and everything digital can definitely have a dark side with many dark players. That's why you need SaferNet by your side. Thanks to SaferNet for bringing this story to our ears for our entertainment and education. We really appreciate their support. And for your own security and the security of those you love and those you work with, check out safernet.com and get secured today. Till the next time, click only on the attachments you trust from those you trust and delete the rest, or you may become the next victim of a digital desperado.
This episode of the Digital Desperados podcast is brought to you by SaferNet VPN, found online at safernet.com.
Business owners, listen up. Criminals and search engines do not need to know everything you do on the internet. SaferNet VPN ensures your company's safety with its powerful cybersecurity defenses. Explore the Control Center dashboard for seamless management. Shield your workforce from inappropriate web content using 84 internet filters. Trust SaferNet VPN, your path to worry-free online operations. Get secured now. Sign up at safernet.com. That's safernet.com.